The state of California has gone after a landlord who increased their rents more than the 10% cap that the state imposes on them. And now they have to pay back their tenants the money that they charged. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have quite the interesting article for you today, and it's going over the whole rent control law in the state of California. So, the state of California has gone after a landlord for violating the statewide cap on rent increases, right? And it's really an interesting story because they are forcing this landlord to pay back hundreds of thousands of dollars in rent increases to these tenants, right? So this is kind of a bad situation for a multitude of reasons because simply put, if they start going after landlords for increasing their rents too much, I mean, who do you think they're going to go after? It's not going to be these big guys. It's going to start being small mom and pop landlords who don't have the legal resources or the money to fight this sort of case. So, yeah, I could see this ending very badly for landlords there. And this is another reminder of why I've always said do not invest in California. If you're a small landlord, it's just not worth it. There's too many rules, too many laws, too many regulations, and you're only losing property rights there. It's not one of these states where they're saying, oh, you know what, we need to grant more rights to the landlords. We need to make sure that their property rights are protected. No, they're doing the exact opposite of that. They're saying we want to take away their rights. We want to, give their property away to the tenant. The tenant is the real owner of the property. That's what they think, right? Or the government is the real owner. They want the government to be in charge of everything, but the landlord pay for everything. That doesn't make any sense, not to me. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. What do you think of the state of California going after landlords who exceeded the state's rent cap? Okay, they have statewide rent control in California. Why in the world would anyone want to invest there, be it a developer or even a small investor? Why would anyone want to invest in a place with a statewide rent cap? Now, all it takes is, a couple of years of sky high inflation and you're screwed. You're screwed because you will not be able to increase your rents in order to cover the increase in expenses that you have. And they're not going to make any exceptions for you as a landlord. That's the truth, okay? They're going to be like, no, the tenants are suffering. I can't pay my bills. Well, the tenants are suffering, so therefore they're more important. Whatever. Anyway, let's get into this article. This article is coming from calmatters.org, and it says, rents soared 151%. Under California's new law, tenants are getting a refund. Yeah, there should never be a time when you're refunding tenants. Okay? Anyway, let's get into it. In 2019, Governor Gavin Newsom signed a law to shield California renters from double-digit rent hikes and arbitrary evictions. Nearly 4 years later, the state announced its first enforcement action against the landlord under the California rent control law. Attorney General Rob Bonta today announced that San Jose-based developer and property manager Green Valley Corporation will be on the hook for hiking the rents on 20 Silicon Valley tenants by an average of 151%. Far in excess of the cap set by the law. The settlement also states that the company unlawfully evicted 6 tenants without providing a just cause, another violation. So yeah, the law actually has just cause eviction protections, and I've talked about that before, basically saying that the government is the one who decides the reason why or why not you can evict someone. You can no longer even terminate your own lease, okay? So if your lease is only for 12 months, and the tenant wants to stay, they have a right to stay. You do not have the right to terminate the lease, and you have to keep them in there. And if you try to increase your rent above the state rent cap, well, you're screwed as well. So this company violated both of those terms of this state law. And like I've always said, follow your state laws, but at the same time, don't invest in a state that has ridiculous laws. That doesn't make any sense. So this developer here, the San Jose-based developer Green Valley Corporation, right? Not only do they have to pay all their tenants back rent, right? But they have to lower their rents down to whatever the state rent cap was, or whatever So they're devaluing their own property. Their own property is devalued. In fact, they might lose the property to the bank because of this sort of action. Okay, because the bank, they base loans on what the rental income is. So if they saw the rental income as whatever that higher amount they were charging was, then the bank would might have said, okay, well, we'll loan you X amount of money. But if they say, okay, well, now your rents are permanently cut by, you know, 51% or what, 151% or whatever, right? Well, the bank will be like, well, we're going to have to just call the loan due because you're not going to be able to pay the bill. You're not going to be able to pay this bill. And, you have to pay us off because, this is a bad deal for us. We're going to lose money. You're going to lose this property to foreclosure. Okay. When your legislator writes a law and the governor signs it, it's the law. It's not a suggestion. It's not a recommendation. It's not if you want to, said Bonta. The attorney general noted that this was a first for his office, but it won't be the last. Under the terms of a settlement filed in Santa Clara County Superior Court, Green Valley, which also does business under the name Swinson Builders, will be forced to pay $391,130. Of that, $331,130 will be refunded to tenants and overpaid back rent. This is a strong reminder the California Tenant Protection Act is the law of California, and that law will be enforced, said San Francisco City Attorney David Chu, who authored the 2019 law when he was in the assembly. So, yeah, looking at that, right? Looking at that, I mean, just by the name of the company, and I don't know anything about this project or the place where these people were living, right? But to me, the fact that it's a builder, kind of implies that this might have been newer construction, right? So newer construction is stuck under a rent control law. And they wonder why there's so little development within the state of California. They're wondering why. Why is there no affordable housing here? Why are developers so reluctant to build anything here? Why is everything so expensive here? Because of the laws that you put into place. Now you're going to go after developers and landlords with this rent control nonsense, with this just cause eviction nonsense, making them pay rent. And you know what you're doing? You're scaring the few people who do want to invest in California. You're scaring them away. You're scaring them away. You're telling them, we don't want you here. You can't make any money here. Go invest somewhere else, right? And the lack of affordable housing in the state of California is probably a significant factor in why California's population declined at the last census. Okay? It's not just the businesses that are leaving. It's also the people who need housing. Okay, if you can't find a house, if the only house you can find is a two-bedroom shack for $1 million, well, people can't afford that. People cannot afford that. So yeah, they're scaring away the people, the middle class. They're scaring away the developers, the people who are investing in the communities, and what they're going to be left with is just a declining population. They're going to be left with a lot of their businesses gone, and I wouldn't be surprised if it became like Detroit in some parts of California. The settlement concludes a year-and-a-half long investigation by the Attorney General's office. As San Jose Spotlight reported last year, Swinson increased the rent on nearly 2 dozen tenants living near San Jose's Japantown in 2021. Some of those tenants reached out to local legal aid organizations, which brought the issue to the state's Department of Justice. The company reimbursed 3 tenants and admitted in a letter that the rent hikes were higher than permitted by law. Tenant right groups have decried the 2019 law as toothless ever since it took effect. Bonta's announcement of the state's first ever enforcement action amounts to a very public flashing of fangs. And they're going to go after other people as well. Okay? There's other people out there who also ignored the law, and they're going to face the consequences. Okay? They're going to have to pay these tenants back. They're going to have to permanently lower their rents. They're going to have to take huge, huge financial losses. And that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that it had to be that way. Okay, if rent control is passed anywhere where I'm investing, I'm selling. I'm getting rid of those properties. I do not want to invest anywhere where rent control is a policy. because they will either slowly bankrupt you or they will quickly bankrupt you. The government believes that they control your property at that point, and it's just not worth being in that business. There's other profitable businesses out there, ones that are not under artificial government placed price controls. Maybe you should get into self storage, okay? Get into something that isn't under rent control policy, because this is the result, okay?